Hello guys and welcome to Air Tycoon 5 World Domination Episode 5, and today we're going to be increasing our profit just out of London. So what I'm going to do is going to make this kind of a montage style where I just show my net profits as we go along, and just some little things that I decide to show. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this, and yeah. Hey guys, I want to rejoin you here because my profit's pretty high. 108,000. Um, Yeah, it's looking pretty hard to meet my original goal of 300,000 by 1983, but if I stretch that to the last few months of 1983, who knows, it might just happen. Um, yeah, but for now, we're gonna be really working with, I guess in some sense you could say, every, like, penny we got, because, um, yeah, I'm really gonna have to play efficiently with the cash I do have now to have a chance even of making it. Uh, oh, I have no 747s. All right, and let me just spend the rest of my measly bit of money on fuel. I think it's probably better to keep up the orders up rather than the fuel up. Hard to say though. Both are, you can make a valid argument for fuel is more important. Um, it takes 36,000 like to fill up the fuel, so if that happens to be the break point for being able to afford another plane, it's easy to argue that another plane would be a good thing, or the efficiency in the fuel could also be considered to be more important. But I'm not here to decide that. I am here to open up routes over and over and over and over again, just with the plain goal of making a shit ton of money, um, not thinking too much about the other aspects of the game. I figure if you have a good, solid, profitable foundation to base your company off of, um, yeah, full of tons and tons of owned stopover aircraft, which is hopefully what I'm going to be able to start getting in just a couple years' time. I would say the threshold for when you want to switch between leased aircraft is just simply based on the demand, right? The only plane worth leasing is the 747 and DCA 11, but you really want to save your leases for 747s, of course. So with the real only like major leased airplane you want is the 747, I would say about 5 aircraft per turn. So like DC-8 sized aircraft, so about 350,000 per turn is about the point where you can consider switching to primarily owned aircraft. Of course, um, you have to have a lot of Tupolevs to do the strategy I'm doing now, but Tupolevs are so cheap you actually spend more money on the fewer 747s you do have, even though just the down payment for the lease is many times more than the value of a Tupolev even. So yeah, a little bit of oddities. Let me just make sure all my routes are running at 100% in terms of price, and it does seem to be so. I mean, they won't be making 3K at base pricing, which is going to be basically my indicator that I have some messed up routes. But for now, I don't, so I'm free to just keep opening these kind of middle range Tupolev routes, which are in the profitable band for Tupolev 124. We have fuel already. Yep, and we can go ahead and pass this turn. Starting is my favorite time in Air Tycoon for sure, though, because like take a look at this. This is my report, of course. Yeah, as I was saying, this is my report, and as you can see, I have a nearly 50% margin. Okay, it's not really close to 50, it's like 40. But like 40% margin later on in the game is like a distant dream. it's just so hard to achieve a high margin in this game. Like, yeah, 50% is really, really like a distant dream. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and continue the strategy. See how well my margin can hold out over time? But the problem is we need to start eventually investing in important things. Hubs being one of them. So like as you guys can see, my New York has been ticking along nicely. It's time we can afford to start investing in another one. New LA will be. Um, After LA, we'll look at Chicago, and then Paris is probably a smart order to do this in. So we'll go ahead and put a couple points in Chicago, and I need to open a route to Paris. Not very profitable one. Yep, as I was saying, not very profitable route, but just with the intention of giving me the ability to invest in Paris as a hub. Uh, yeah, you need to be able to do this to maximize profit. I know it doesn't seem too intuitive, uh, but like yeah, it's quite necessary. So we got Paris in the works, Chicago. I feel like investing less than this is kind of impractical because it just you just don't get name value fast enough. And also, I need to start service investment too. So like, I don't know. It's cheaper to do at the beginning. The 7K hits, of course, extremely hard because 7K is a huge portion of your profit. Um, but that costs so much more in the future that you really want to do it early. In the beginning stages, it costs a few K per turn, and yes, that few K per turn could multiply into a much larger number if you do growth correctly. But if you don't do it early and you want to do it later, it'll be costing you millions uh, of K per turn, up to a billion a turn even, to invest in that stuff. Um, and then you also don't get the benefit for as long. And then that, to be honest, though, is just simply why the beginning of a game is so important to get right. Um, in these Air Tycoon games, they're kind of making it harder to get a bad start and still succeed. I feel like it's harder to pull a company out of the grave, um, thanks to all these investment long-term features. But it also makes it pretty interesting because depending how you play, you get a different result, but the result is a very long term thing. So you can't immediately figure out how the numbers work. I've played a lot of this game, probably over 100, 200 hours already of Air Tycoon 5, and probably if you add up the other Air Tycoon games, the previous ones, you're probably looking at the 500, 600 hours spent on this Air Tycoon franchise, probably more, probably maybe even close to, I don't want to say 1,000, but like 600, 700 hours. Um, and like in that long, like I've played probably all the games less than Air Tycoon 3 games. I only played 2 worlds of Air Tycoon 1. I played a lot of worlds of Air Tycoon Online 2, and then a lot of Air Tycoon Online 3 as well. Uh, but overall, the one I understand least well is still Air Tycoon Online 3 because it has so many, I guess, features which are extremely long run oriented. And in Air Tycoon Online 2, I didn't even notice those features' existence. The reason being, I would literally just play, make stopovers, because you can make stopovers anywhere in that game, just like I have the presets of this world set to, and I would just ignore all competition. I would delete competition routes. I wouldn't bother to compete. There was also almost infinite slots. I can't remember if in Air Tycoon 2 people had already figured out you can buy airports and not upgrade them to occupy all the slots in a city and therefore basically own the city if you happen to own all the routes there. But there was no hubs in Air Tycoon Online 2, so you could open routes anywhere at any time. So you could kind of bypass hubs altogether and just row with the largest routes in the world at the time if you knew where to look. Um, so yeah, in Air Tycoon Online 3, that changed a lot with the hub system because you can get hubs anywhere in the world, which is pretty nice, but it requires a lot of capital investment to reach the point where you can actually have a hub everywhere. So there's actually more skill to it, and there's a lot more. I guess if you could call skill long-term planning, but yeah, there's a lot more of that. A lot more long-term planning goes into this game. So yeah, this one I'm gonna try a very moderated approach that balances opening new hubs, but prioritizes raw profit. I guess is the best way to say it. All right, guys. So also, oop, that's not the news tab. Where's the damn news? I don't even know how to get to the news tab when it doesn't just pop up. But let's see if I can find it. Hold up, real quick. Is it here? Nope. Is it here? How is it impossible to find the freaking news? News? Nope. Okay. Well, I can't seem to find the news, and the store does not seem to load, so I will be back when this fixes itself. Alright, passing the turn now. I kind of forget what I was talking about because there's been a plethora of interruptions. Um, so, what was I doing? Well, we got some bones to use, that's for sure. Alright, making some 747 routes here. What do we have? Lima in range? I think it's not. It's got Phoenix and Seattle to work with, so let's do Seattle first because it's slightly larger. We can get the second stop somewhere over in this region. Let me Molten. Molten's a bit small. Chennai is tiny at the moment. That's gonna yield too few schedules per week. Maybe something Wuhan would yield maximum schedules. Oh gosh. I think I found out why we saw a reduced profit. Go ahead and fix that up, and then yeah, that yields 4 schedules a week, so that's quite nice. The annoying thing about stopover routes involving North America is there's more large cities in Asia than there are in North America, so you kind of run out of large cities in North America long before Asia. Small details, of course, in the big picture, but kind of annoying individually because having imbalanced stopovers is really annoying when you upgrade your planes. And I always mention that, but I've actually not gotten to the point where I feel happy about the state of the game when it comes time to start upgrading planes yet so far. Every single game I've done so far, I feel like I've messed something up more major than can be fixed easily. So yeah, restart is more easy basically. Yeah, I'm not somebody who likes to stick at it like when it gets tough, you know what I mean? Because ultimately I'm very good at finding the easiest path forward, and sometimes the easiest path forward is simply a restart. And that is what happened in this game. So, Helsinki, yeah, we're running out of even decent Tupolev 124 routes. We're down to using cities which are quite small. So once I've connected every city, and I mean every city, to London in range of a Tupolev 124, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to DC-8s or 707 320s, depending on the range. I'm looking for the DC-8s for slightly longer, 707s for slightly shorter, because 707s are slightly better aircraft. Just ever so slightly. Like, you could honestly use them interchangeably and not really notice besides the range difference. So yeah, let's go ahead and just make sure everything's nice and optimized. We got fuel, perfect, and then we just want to buy 2 Tupolevs and a singular Boeing. Yeah, as so far, oh no, I can't even get a Boeing. So, unfortunately, I still have a round where I can't get a Boeing. I got 2 last turn, actually, but then this tick, I am only able to get 0. So yeah, let's go ahead and pass the turn. And 150k. You know what? We might just make our 1973 deadline of 300,000. Sao Paulo to London is my most profitable route at 8k. How insane this is a least 747. If I go into the expenses, the least expense, which could easily be removed, where is it? Passenger income, somewhere in here, like the least expense, or is the least expense not factored in? I'm pretty sure it is. I think it's depreciation cost. Yeah, 2.5k of lease expense, and that is making 8k back. Freaking wild. That could be making 10k as a stopover half. Um, yeah, that's some wild stuff right there. So the last nice quote unquote city we have is Phoenix. So we're gonna do Phoenix to London, and then London to something around here. Maybe Kuwait. Kuwait's good. Ooh, I am low battery, so I'm gonna have to charge soon. Um, go ahead and do that. Boom, boom, boom. Perfect. And then, yep. Okay, so what else is there? Yeah, there's not much to talk about, I guess. Like, I'm really just, doing the same thing over and over again. It's really nice to see that my profit is actually getting so high. Um, the World Traveler Index is climbing itself up pretty nicely, too, which is always welcome. So yeah, like, what other routes do I have? This is where it gets tricky. Orlando and Miami are not big yet. I have every single major city in North America, I believe. I have Bogota. Bogota's pretty big. Let's use Bogota. Let's go Bogota to London. Something not too far, not too close. Something around this range would be great, but Dubai is unfortunately still a very small city. I want to use Lagos to go to Asia because it's in the correct orientation in the world, so that I could stop over and have the other half go to Asia. I think I'm just gonna compete on Athens, because I guarantee you my 747 has better satisfaction than whatever plane is being used for that Athens part. So yeah, it should be pretty good in that sense. Yeah, keeping the satisfaction up on planes is extremely easy to forget about later on in the game, and I probably will forget about it later on in the game. But what if you're stacking on competition routes? It becomes extremely important. So hopefully, guys, when I get to that point in the game, I don't completely forget that if I want to do better in the competition, I seriously just have to make sure my satisfaction is all very high. What else do I have to do now? Looks like I'm just finishing off on these last couple Tupolev routes. And that should be pretty good. Just have to buy some aircraft. Well, let's make sure we have fuel first. Yep, we have fuel already. Wow. And then, let's take a look at this. 124. 90,000. Let's do this many first. And then let's try and lease 2 747s. Perfect. There we go. All right, guys. So I'm gonna cut back when we get closer to 1973. Okay, guys. Looking at this. Whoops. Gotta go for a flipperoni there. Yeah, looking at this, my net profits are doing pretty good. I am coming up on my deadline, but also stop block. So I've just been thinking, what good routes do I have left to make for 747s, which are leased and therefore range limited? And I was looking at it and I went, really? Not much. Vancouver can be used, Seattle can be used, or Portland can be used. I mean, Seattle, of course, is a great city to use. And then everything else is extremely lackluster. I mean, we got cities like Minneapolis, which are okay. St. Louis, it's on the low side, but can be used. And then additionally, I think Monterey and I think Chihuahua, no. Okay, only Monterey is a pretty exceptionally larger city in North America left over for 747s. And so I was thinking, what could I start doing now? And I honestly believe it's time to start buying planes. I'm still far, far, far from my next base. If we take a look at my investment expenses, this is what it looks like now. I'm focusing on New York the most. I could probably even increase this a little bit to speed it up a bit because I'm really in desperate need of a new hub. Mm, and then I have Los Angeles, Chicago, and even some of the major Asian cities following up. So yeah, with that in mind, I think it's honestly time to start buying my own air, like stopoverable small aircraft. So this is the smallest aircraft, which is capable of doing a stopover. Let's go ahead and update the seat type. This is a pretty good cabin layout. Maybe I can stretch it to like 15%. Yep, something like this. Um, yeah, and we can go ahead and order a couple of those, especially in these turns where London is otherwise full, thanks to slot restrictions. And then we can go ahead and pass the turn. We should see a little profit bump here. Yep, almost 200,000 now. We're getting very close to our goal, whilst still keeping up in other departments. Last game I had completely forgotten to do service investment, which really hurt me. I think just like the 3 level in service investment, the service level is going up at a okay pace. I could do this, 7K. I'll take it. I'll set it to 4 for now, and I'll gradually try and increase these things as I go along and keep everything ticking along at a nice smooth rate. Um, One thing I want to for sure do is still make sure I max out my 7.4 leases though. That's because I want to keep my value down. Right now, I am a quote unquote level 1 company. That means my employees will be happy with a slightly lower wage. I forgot to buy fuel. Oh, I already bought fuel. I thought I had forgotten to buy fuel, which would have been a big downside to my profit, but I had not. So, not bad. I'm not losing too much. Let's see. I think I'm gonna do Monterey because it's one of the larger cities. I think it's 330 if you add the business and tour, which is, I think, the biggest left over on that side of the world for a stopover. And I can go ahead and connect it to something pretty nice like Hiroshima. I will just use Hiroshima. Go ahead and make, oh, it's only 3 schedules a week. I don't know if I want to do that. So you can find anything in the middle of the country, which can rival it in size. In the middle of, not the country, but the continent. Tehran. Tehran's not as big, but it's pretty big. And we get 4 schedules a week, which I think is more valuable. Even if the load factor drops from 100, it's slightly better in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, we can go ahead and price these up to appropriate amounts. Very nice. And then, yeah, okay, so that's one of them. The other thing I think I can do is I can do something like this from London and then to Japan. I think this is a valid stopover route. And perfect, it is. And I only get 3 schedules a week, so do I want to do that? The other option is I can stop somewhere here, but like that's a pretty bad route, London to Novosibirsk, where this is at least guaranteed to be full. So I think I'm just gonna go with this. Guaranteed to be full, greater than 4 schedules a week in this case, I believe. Not sure. But yeah. Also, if we take a look at my routes, I've been experimenting on doubling up an aircraft. So here is like 2 aircraft on the same route. Um, yeah, it's 2 747-100, so huge amount of capacity. And it seems to be working somewhat decently. Like, it doesn't make as much money per aircraft. I think this route made 8K as 1 aircraft and makes 13K on 2 aircraft. So the second aircraft's not adding a lot, is basically what I'm saying. But considering I'm seriously like low on 747 routes, I think it's decent. And the cities will grow to be able to accommodate it, I'm guessing, quite soon. So let's go ahead and pass another turn. As you guys can see, I also have 2 bluffs stacking up, not flying around. Thanks to these slots. Yeah, I can go ahead and lower this to freaking 1. Because I believe I have 2 707s to use this turn. So for 707s, the kind of routes I want to take with the 707s is literally anything I'm not taking with a 747. Um, so I need to think of which routes I want a 747 on. Minneapolis is going to be one of them. Uh, Probably anything which hits 300. So Portland, Vancouver, and Minneapolis are going to be the ones which I choose to turn into full-on 707 or 747 routes. Let's see if there's any more. And then anything less, I'm literally just going to go ahead and turn it into a 707 route. Like Cleveland, for example, is a bit too short. It's like, I don't know, 20 points short. And the reason for this is I could easily fill a larger plane, right? Um, but I don't think I'm going to be running out of demand. Ooh, Bengaluru is a great in-between city, and so is Hyderabad. I think they've been growing. So I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, and on the Asian side, I guess I'm gonna go for something similar. So like Kunming, for example, would be a perfect one destination, not too small, not too big. Also gives 4 schedules a week, which is exactly what I'm looking for. Go ahead and set the price, and yeah, these make far less, especially per route. But I don't think that I can run a 747 profitably on these routes, so I'm not going to. Um, yeah, I think it's a much smarter decision to simply lose money in the sense that I could be making more, but I'm making as much as I can for the amount of capital I invested right now, which is also a good thing, definitely. Oh, I forgot about Tucson. Tucson can probably be a 747 route additionally. So let's go ahead and fix this up. Very nice. And go ahead and buy our fuel and then spend our nice cash. Let's just take a look also at slots. Okay, still full. So what planes do I want to buy? I believe a couple 707s. And geez, the satisfaction on these birds are bad. It's, what was that, 50 something already? Those are going to be in the red quite quickly. So I'm not sure how long I could use those, but with the way I discovered the auto replace feature works is it gets rid of the planes for you too. So where's that feature? Yeah, here. You can get it to auto plane change, for example, planes off the bottom of your lifespan list. So I could be replacing 100, like, with 100 turns left, I could already be replacing planes. And because it's automatic, I don't think it would be even a big waste. So, um, yeah, you'd be losing a lot of money on loss on plane sales, but the overall benefit of the profit probably be worth it, to be honest. So just go ahead and pass this turn. And 235,000. We literally might make our deadline. And our deadline being the 300,000 by year 1973, which would be insane because that's very close to the amount I was making in downticks 30 years later on the other world. So yeah, I guess that would point out to the importance of careful and efficient playing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I can say. Like, I haven't done too much differently besides be very mindful of the cash, the way I'm spending cash and what I'm like doing with money in this game so far, and it seems to have made a enormous difference. Not over investing in name value too early is important. I think a gradual, gentle ramp up is probably the way to do it. Also, I made one very crucial discovery in the last game is that in financial crises, the AIs do something incredibly stupid, which no players do, so I didn't even realize that this was a thing that they would think about doing, is they cancel schedules. So in a prolonged economic crisis, you see slots opening up in airports everywhere. And that's kind of crucial because then I can just use those opportunities to grab the slots and open the routes I want to make. I just have to make sure to keep some money in my bank account, um, especially if I see a financial crisis is going to happen. I think that's like opportunity time to pounce and basically grab as many slots in like major airports as possible. Um, so when I am slot locked, I believe there's two more economic crises from this point on. Um, there's one in the late in sometime in the 80s, I believe. It's random when it comes, but when it does come, this time, hopefully I should be ready, and I should be able to grab it. To be honest, I should be able to fix any slot problems I am having in that time simply by grabbing a ton of the slots that open up during that time, which should be a really uh, kind of cheaty, awesome way to fix slot issues. Um, and there's another crisis probably even after that, which I rarely get to, probably around 2007, I would guess, you know. Um, yeah, I can't, I haven't played a game to that point for so long, I can't remember exactly when it is, but I'm pretty sure it will happen. So, um, yeah, when that does happen, it should be a nice opportunity to grab even more slots in airports where I wouldn't have enough slots in. Um, so yeah, basically what I worried is if you're patient, there's ways to get around slot issues. Um, However, to get around money, like just not enough capital issues, is a very long, tedious, drawn out, um, and difficult road to recover from. So it's definitely better to focus on extremely good financials first in this game. Now, I saying all of this, whereas in last game I was still making, probably an average of 7 to 800,000 a turn, but that honestly was not very good. Um, it wasn't quite enough to be able to comfortably bankrupt the AIs because the AIs were making, just a little bit too much. They had a little bit too much cash, so I couldn't be throwing away money basically at them to bankrupt them. I just couldn't possibly afford to do that. So yeah, with all that in mind, I think this game I'm gonna try and strike the balance much better. Hopefully, I also don't overshoot opportunities. Um, in terms of like there's you have to finish doing certain things before certain dates in this game, otherwise it becomes difficult. Like buying airports is one of them. I don't know when the AI start buying airports. I wasn't really paying attention, but I really should be paying attention this time around because before the airlines start buying airports, I need to start buying airports. um it's not very uh it's not the most cost efficient way to increase your profit immediately, but in the long run, it really pays itself out because it's a one time purchase. You own it forever. And it's extremely boring because all you do is pass turns until you can afford it, and boop, then you own it. You know what I mean? But I'm going to start trying to purchase airports as they get full. Um, that's probably the best chance I have to buy them. Um, or I could buy them much earlier in the expectation they're cheaper, but I have very little experience buying airports and I have no idea how their pricing works. And I'm also not sure if I'll have just enough money in general to actually afford the airports. So yeah, that's gonna be an interesting twist when that comes along. And yeah, as we just go forward now, I'm just really gonna keep on with it with these 707s and leasing the 747s. I think this is a pretty good way to continue. Um, yeah, very nice. Well, you can see Los Angeles has an overcrowded counter now as well, thanks to the extreme amount of 747s landing there, which is just a few a week. But like, when I say a few a week, I mean 10 a week. But it doesn't make sense that the counter would overflow having one of them. It should be massively overflowing having just one of them because 747 only lands 10 times a week. It has to turn around all those people in a couple hours because people aren't going to want to wait longer than that to check in and stuff. So in reality, you would need a lot more counters, yet you'd only need them for a brief amount of time. No, I didn't want to level up. It gives me cash, but also let's take a look at our standings on the leaderboards. Wow, I'm climbing already, guys. Um, this game's gonna be a wrap, but yeah, they're making 60,000, and I am making 200 and what is this? 236,000. But anyways, that's probably a good point to kind of end it off here. I mean, I'm just been expanding out of London, so it's gonna be much of the same thing from here on out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.